And we are on. All right. Hi, Fabio. How are you doing?
Hi, Ali. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's good we got here after a lot of technical issues, but we finally made it.
We made it.
So thank you for having you on the podcast. I'm actually very excited about this one because this is the first time I have an athlete on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I think I should have said this the last time, but I am a huge football fan. And yeah, I've always been interested in sports and whatnot, mainly football. I do watch other sports here and there, so it's good to have you on.
My pleasure.
So as I said, the first thing that I was interested in is well, actually, first of all, to introduce yourself to the audience. So can you let us know a bit more about yourself?
So my name is Fabio Miguel. I was born in a very small island in West Africa, Saint Main Principe. I tend to say this because most people don't know where it is, and if you
Mhm.
check it on the map, you have to zoom in to see it. And I grew up in Portugal, so I moved to Portugal when I was 4, and I am a strength and conditioning coach now, and I worked with the Palestine national team for the past 2 years, and now I am with Al Ula basketball women's club, and I am based in Medina.
All right. Yeah. So it's
Right
it's
now, I'm in,
interesting.
just to highlight because
So
I'm
yeah, you're in England,
I'm in,
exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's quite a journey, which is why I think I was very interested to have this chat with you. And we'll get to your journey like in detail in a bit. The first
yeah.
thing that kind of brought to my attention was you played football at Benfica.
Yes,
And for those who are not familiar, Benfica is probably arguably the best or one of the best football teams there. It's a very high level. So
yeah,
just kind of like how far, walk us through that and how far did you get into your career before you kind of did that pivot?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I started playing football when I was very young. I used to play football in school and in the streets, just like most kids start playing football. And and then when I moved to Portugal, I was 4, like I said, but I didn't start playing football until I was around 8, at least in a club. When my stepdad's son really, was talking to my mom and saying, "You really have to do something about it because the kid loves football and is clearly very good at it." And we used to go to, how most neighborhoods will have the local kind of
Yeah.
field or five-a-side pitch, and
Okay,
then
Val.
we'd have loads of tournaments. And I used to play with the older kids, and I used to do really well. So
What position did you play? Sorry, I did.
I played. It's funny. I started as a striker, number 9. I used to
Okay, number
score loads of
9.
goals, and then when I went to Benfica, they moved me to midfielder, attacking midfielder, defensive midfielder, centre mid.
Hold on, let me
And
see.
by the time I got to under 16s or under 17s, I was playing at right back because I was really fast. So attacking, I was really good. Defending wasn't the best, but it was good enough. And they thought they got a lot out of me attacking because we also had really good midfielders because it was very competitive. And then by the time I finished when I was under 19s, my last season, I for the last few months I was playing as a striker again. So it was kind of,
Back and forth.
just yeah, going back and forth. And then I joined my local club, which was Amora Football Club, and I joined with the academy. It was kind of, I went there to get to subscribe and to pay for my membership, and then I had a training session just to them to see how I did. And after the training session, the director called my mom and said, actually, we want him to go straight into the competitive side because he's really good. And I was playing with the older kids already, and journey kind of started there at the time because Benfica didn't really have an academy, a big
Mhm.
academy yet. The academy was pretty small and it was in Lisbon. I was living in Almada, which was around 30-minute drive. So I was already going on trials to Benfica. My first trial, because they had scouts everywhere. So my first trial was when I was around 9, maybe 10. It was the
Yeah.
first year I started. And then it was really young, and they just said, we'll keep an eye on you. So it's only one training session or two training sessions. Then we went back to the local club every season. I went to a trial 2 more times, and then when I was 13, we had the regional tournament, which is where each region puts together uh, the best players from
All right.
each team. And then we have a big national tournament, which is all regions against each other. So let's say it would be something like having Manchester playing against London, and then on and on,
Really,
Birmingham,
really.
things like that. So all the players from Manchester, the best players together. And that tournament, I was the youngest player in the team. So I was 13, all the other players were 14 because it was an under 14 or under 15 tournament. And I did really well. And from there, they just called me. It was very interesting because that year, I had offers from Sporting Lisbon, from Benfica, from, it was a French club. I can't remember which club it is. But I only found any of this out when I went back to the club because they didn't tell me about it. They just told me I have an offer from Benfica because we had really good connections between
Hmm.
clubs, and they wanted me to go there. So I went to trials with Benfica, and from the very first training session was with Bastos Lopes, which is an old school centre back from Benfica. Most of the
Hmm.
coaches at Benfica's academy is old school players, which is it
All
was
right.
very good at the time.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I then yeah, he really liked me, and then from there on, I stayed with Benfica, and the journey started. It was very competitive.
Hmm.
And I always say, people trying to understand, and I speak to my players, you kind of grow up very fast when you on that in that environment because the competition is high. Naturally, all kids want to be there. Although for you, it's still this sort of, I'm just kind of having fun, and this is
Yeah.
amazing. You're kind of living your dream when you're so young. You don't really think of, well, I want to become a football player. It grows. You grow into that feeling, but you know that at any stage you can leave because by the end of the season, most players or half of the team would be let go, and then you'd have new players coming from loads of different countries. And the older you get, the more competitive it gets because the more players you have coming, and the closer it's getting to the first team. So it
Hmm.
becomes really hard. So, for example, for my year when we were 14 until 19, so let's say out of 25 players, there was only about 8 players that were left
Wow.
because everyone else was gone, and in between you'd have loads of players that came and go and came.
Hmm.
And that was an achievement in itself. And I played for Benfica until I was 19.
Yeah.
And at the time, Benfica didn't really have a B team. They have now because they have, the B team plays in the second league, let's say the championship
Oh, yeah.
level.
Yeah.
But at the time, this started recently as well, was the Youth Champions League and all these things that they have now. They didn't have
Yeah.
it at the time. So it was very, very hard to make it to the first team because we had amazing players. I remember David Luiz, because I did some training sessions with the first team.
Yeah.
Had David Luiz, Ruben Amorim, that was now with Man
Wow.
United, who was there. We had Pablo Aimar and Savio, and we have all these
Great
amazing
players.
players.
Yeah.
So some of the players did it, and even if they didn't play regularly, they managed to stay there, even if it was for a season, and they would get loaned. Um, I didn't, and I went to a club in the third division in Portugal, and the level wasn't very good. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to stay there because it felt a bit like, if you're surrounded by players that are not as good or better than you, it feels like you're taking a step back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it really felt like I could give more, and I had better chances if I explored different countries. And my dad at the time helped me and got me an agent in the UK. So
Mm.
my agent in Portugal took me there, and I told him I don't really want to be here, but he wanted me to stay there. So I just tried to find a better club. Went to a Leicester City. At the time was a Leicester City trial, which was very
Mhm.
nice. I knew nothing about Leicester City. I think they were still in the championship. I think they were not even,
At that time, yeah, yeah.
yeah, because it was 2011. So I don't think,
Yeah, probably there'll be, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So, but it was already very nice. And they asked me, the coach at the time asked me to stay there longer than a few days, and then for a bit longer. And I was starting to feel like, okay, I might actually just stay in Leicester City, which would have been great.
Hmm.
But uh, from there on, from the next 6 months, I was going loads of trials, and the conversation was always the same: was that because of I was 19, they would have to pay for my contract naturally, and then give me a house and pay Benfica and do a lot. Would be a lot of expenses for
Yeah.
them to not have a guarantee that you'd be a good investment at the end of the day.
Hmm. Hmm.
And at the end of the day, it's what it is. It's an investment. So it's you know, it was harsh. and then I went back to Portugal, and then I just said, you know what, I don't want to be here anyways. Let me go to the UK. I can train with my agent, get comfortable, because it was a different language, it was a different way of playing. It was very, very different. Adapting
Mhm.
to British football was
I,
very
I
chaotic the first
I'm
week.
I'm interested in that. Like, I don't want to turn this into a
Yeah,
football podcast, but because I just see it from a spectator, and I always feel like when you watch, for example, the Spanish, the Portuguese, there's so much flair, tiki-taka.
a
Like the
lot. Yeah,
English
yeah,
football is very kind of, in the box, direct.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think this
Anyways,
was
yeah,
one of the struggles. First, it was very physical. Not that I wasn't a physical player, but I was a lot more technical than I was physical.
yeah, yeah.
So the skills and the techniques and the slower pace, kind
Okay,
of.
yeah.
And it's not that they didn't appreciate that. It's more that it takes some time for you to feel comfortable and confident enough for you to
Hmm.
show that side of your football. So
Hmm.
it's very hard to do it in a few training sessions. And I think the coaches knew, because most of the coaches will tell me, we can see that you've been in a very good academy and you're a really good player. It's
Yeah,
just that we don't know if we have the opportunity and the space to give you time to show, and if it's the right investment. Because at the end of the day, if I say, okay, we want him because he's good, now it's my responsibility because I believe that you can make it. And then if
yeah,
you
yeah,
don't, it's just, which, that's kind of how it works. If you
yeah.
believe enough in a player, you will just
Best,
um,
yeah.
buy them. But yeah, at the time it didn't work out, and I had some issues with my dad, because I didn't grow up with my dad. I grew up with my mom, and then when I moved to the UK, although my dad was in South Africa, I was living. He was taking care of all my expenses until, because we gave ourselves kind of a time where I would just focus on football and studying. So he kind of, his idea was, I need to maybe get more involved, and I want to, I guess, show my son what life is about,
Okay,
that
yeah,
that you have to work. And I think he didn't really understand the complexities and how hard it was what I was trying to do at the moment.
of course, yeah.
And for him, it felt like, you need to work to see that, in case this doesn't work and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Which
typical.
yeah, it was very tough. And now I can talk about it very normally, and because I spent some time having to process it, which we'll get to that, because it's how I came here in the first place. But
Hmm.
at the time, it really felt like I don't have my mom, because my mom, me growing up, I didn't really like school. I loved school, going to school.
But not
uh,
the
I was very smart in the way that, teachers would be very upset because I was very distracted, but when I put the effort, I would have really good
you get the
grades.
result. Yeah, yeah.
And then, but I only wanted to play football and have and
Mm.
joke around, and my mom always thought, I can't, because you should have a bit of pressure from my family, in the way that it would be, oh, he is not having good grades right now. Why are you allowing him to play football? Maybe if he leaves football, he'll have better grades.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
my mom knew how much I liked football, so she would just tell me all the time, there is no way, and tell everyone, there is no way I can take this kid out of football,
Hmm.
because at least with football, this is his focus. He's not too worried on, he's not getting distracted by the bad influences and
Exactly, exactly.
drugs and
Yeah.
what's not. What he's really doing is focusing all his time in playing football. And with my dad, it was a bit different. I don't think he really understood that. And because at some point it became too much, so I was going on trials. I was going on trials which were not really going my way. I was studying, which was fine, and then I was working. So
Yeah.
I decided that I just wanted to quit. And then from there, it was very brutal. It was very, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to quit. I was frustrated, and I left. I went to Leicester. I decided I wanted to do investment banking. So I started doing business studies. But I knew I wasn't done with football, because I joined a Saturday league club straight away. I can't even remember the name, Hilton, something like that. I can't remember.
Mhm.
But I joined the club straight away. And, for them, they were like, I don't know what you're doing here, because you're way too good to be our level, but we can't pay
Exactly.
you more than what we're paying right now. And I had to make money. So I also had to quit that after a few months. And then when I was 22, I wanted to go back to London to do university, and I decided, you know what, because I'm going back to London, I'm going to give myself my last chance at football.
Mhm.
So I started applying for universities. My choices were, I think it was UCL, and then it was South Oriental African Studies, was University of East London, and the best two options based on my grades, I think it was UEL and it was South Oriental and African Studies to do economics.
Mhm.
But UEL had a really good offer because they were going to offer me a scholarship with a possibility to also have a sports scholarship to play with a football team. And they have a really good football team because they are very good sports university, especially.
Okay.
So, you know, it wasn't the best choice, but I decided to join UEL anyways. And as in, it wasn't the best choice in terms of, the quality of the university. It wasn't
Okay.
good as South Oriental and as SOAS, as they used to call it.
Good
So
too.
mainly because of football, and everyone looked at me like, you quit football, and now you have the chance to go to a better university, but you go
Exactly.
because of football.
Because of football.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was it. At that time, I really started feeling, maybe it can still happen because I knew I loved football, and I I joined university. I joined the football team, and the season took some time to start. But I was going. I kind of went on a trial first, and then I joined the team. And in the meantime, I was doing a lot of tournaments. I was playing outside university with friends. I had local tournaments that I was going to. Sometimes I would train, let's say, 3 times a day.
Wow.
And then one of those tournaments, I I injured my knee. So
Oh,
yeah, so I was running, I was sprinting, and I stopped really fast, and my ligament I just hit pop, and it was the first time ever. So I got back up and I couldn't walk. So
yeah. That's the probably the worst injury you can have as a footballer
it,
is a knee injury.
it was
Yeah.
my ACL. It was awful. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I went to the hospital and they told me, yeah, you have a full ACL rupture, so it's gonna take 6 to 9 months to recover. So forget the football team, forget the university, whatever.
Mm.
And in the meantime, I was still thinking, I'm gonna come back. This is gonna be the perfect story. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna recover. I'm gonna be, I don't know, 24, and I'm still gonna make it into football. But the
Mhm.
reality was very different. My recovery was awful. My physiotherapy wasn't very good. Uh, I couldn't bend my knee, can have full flexion, only about 90 degrees. And I had to go to Portugal because my mom was a physiotherapist, like assistant. So she
All
used to
right.
work in a clinic. I had to go to Portugal for a month and do physiotherapy with them, which was pretty much trying to force my knee back in place. So that was also very rough. And from there, I kind of just kept going and finished university. It was very bad. I didn't want to. I realized I picked the wrong course because
Mhm.
naturally I had this um, spike, just energy and a rush at the time that I wanted to do something, and I wanted
Mhm.
to prove people that I can do more than football. So let me just go into investment banking or economics
Yeah.
or whatever it is. But realistically, my passion was in sports. So
It
when
wasn't.
I
Yeah.
look back, I thought I really could have picked like physiotherapy. I could have picked sports
Uh,
science. I could have picked so many things related to
yeah. I
sports
was thinking that. Yeah.
and football, whatever it was. So I struggled a lot to finish university because my first year was great. Second year, I had my injury. Third year, it was a big push. But I finished economics and I started working at Barclays Bank. And when I started working at Barclays Bank, I, after a while, you know, you start feeling maybe this is not what I want to do with my life. So a few
I can
years in,
imagine going from like the rush of football and Benfica to like wearing a suit and sitting in Barclays. But yeah,
exactly,
it's quite
it was,
drastic.
I don't think this is what I want to do in my life, and it became very heavy to the extent where uh, I would really wake up and stay in bed for a while and feel like I don't want to get up, I don't want to go to work. This is not what I want to do. But I still stayed at Barclays for 6 years or so. But
Wow.
I started in 2017 part time. I was still at uni, and then I went still part time, but just more hours. And then it really this maybe I started thinking, maybe actually this is exactly what I'm going to do. Just go into 1CP, which is like the head office, start working in investment banking, like I said I was going to do, and what's
Yeah.
not. But I was applying for a lot of jobs. I was going for interviews in the head office, and it would be very close, but then it wouldn't be happening. And then I became a financial mentor within Barclays.
Yeah.
We had all these ads, and I had to find things to do, and my manager at the time knew that, so he would always just give me, like, I used to do ads for the bank and all this type
Yeah.
of stuff. And then COVID happened, and that's where things really changed.
Hmm.
Because when COVID happened, I had a lot of time at home, and I have really good friends. I had really good friends in the house, and we have a lot of deep conversations around, all the things that our, you know, experience throughout the past few years, how we feel, understanding ourselves and traumas and all these type of things.
Yeah.
And because I really understood that all this time since I stopped playing football until then, I was very lost,
Hmm.
and I never really stopped to think about what I wanted to do and who I was or who I am outside football.
Yeah.
I
So,
kept living in this, athlete mindset, and but not really being an athlete, and then not really acknowledging that you're going through this process of change, but you're just kind of moving forward with no
yeah.
direction, and you don't really know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
COVID happened, and I thought, you know what, I think it's fair because you get comfortable. This is the problem. Think something like football, not only football, but when you want to do things that they're very hard, in the sense that the probabilities of you achieving that is very
Very
low.
little. Yeah.
As you grow older, you become very aware of it, and it's scary, and you get comfortable, and comfort is naturally better.
Yeah.
So I realized that I really want to, you know, be a bit brave and
Mhm.
have the courage to take the step to change my life. And that's pretty much what I did. I didn't want to wait, so I remember reaching out to the FA because I want to do football coaching. And I remember the lady actually called me and said, "I'm really sorry, but we can't do anything right now because of COVID.
Oh,
So
yeah.
maybe we're going to have something online, but right now we've not decided what steps we're taking, and we can't have face to face." So, I was
Yeah.
like,
It's
okay,
off the table.
exactly. So I thought I can't not do anything. So I started doing a uh, course, like an extensive course that was level 2 personal training, level 3 was strength and conditioning, level 4 was nutrition, level 4, and all these things. And I remember I started, and 6 months later, maybe it was 2021, summer 21, I
Hmm.
finished enough to start training people, and I
Okay.
opened a business. So I went to the
Okay.
bank. I spoke to the business manager. I opened a business account. I opened a business, and I started training clients. I
Okay.
had so I used to live in this flat, and we have about, let's say, 5 floors, and I had loads of different people in the flat that were training with me. But
Wow. Okay.
and and it was one of those things. I never really felt, oh, this is really what I want to do, but it felt I need to take a step, and I'm happier doing this than what I
It's
was.
a bit
And
closer to, yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah, to your
So,
kind of,
and it was mostly because training athletes and training normal anyone
very
else is very
different.
different.
Yeah.
Because I also have when it comes to training, especially, I have a bit of an athlete mindset. So it
You,
sometimes can be a bit tough.
you
I don't
can't
want
push it.
to,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to hear, "Oh no, I can't do it today because whatever." I don't want the excuses, "Oh, it's
Yeah.
too early." So for me, I think it was good because I had to understand that I have to give people more space, and I have to find, you know, I have to understand how to engage and how to motivate people in the right way. Not everyone wants to be shouted at. Not everyone wants to just be motivated in a soft and calm way, and not everyone wants to be. People have very specific goals.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think trying to combine my financial mentoring and mentoring a lot of people at a time and coaching, it was a very good experience to take that step. So for
Hmm.
2 years, I was working in a bank, 9 to 5. I would finish, come home, change my suit, get my sports clothes, and then train clients from maybe 6 till 10, 6 till 9.
Yeah.
and then non-stop. And at the same time, I started doing my football coaching, so FA level one, and I started training not uh, people that wanted to compete. So it was, triathletes, it was marathon runners, it was a few football players would have sessions in the park. It was, and I started realizing, people really trust me because of my own experience, but also because I have an understanding. It was not only about, how can I be better, but it's the mentality around sports,
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
my own experience. And I then met, this was 2020, end of 20 or beginning of 22, I met my partner,
Hmm.
and she she so when we met, she was here on holidays because she's we have a friend in common. So one of her best friends used to be in our flat, and we met because of COVID. So we used to play
Okay.
really loud music, and she used to listen to it, and then she'd say, "Oh, who's playing this music? Oh, I really want to join. Can I just come down?" Sort of thing. So um we met, first time we met, and she said, "Oh, I live in Palestine." And I was like,
Okay.
"Why did you live in Palestine?" She's Danish,
Yeah.
nothing to do with Palestine.
Exactly.
And I I heard of Palestine because my stepdad at the time, he was a politician, so we used to speak a lot about Yasser Arafat. He used to uh,
Mm.
I used to have an idea of the country. I didn't
Okay.
have any understanding of what was happening. I didn't know much. This was since I was young. So when she said Palestine, I was like, I have no clue why you're in Palestine. But we started
Hmm.
talking, and she had moved there a few, maybe 1, 2 years ago, and then she had to leave because of COVID and went back and all of that stuff. And then, you know, we fast forward. She went back to Palestine after the
Hmm.
holidays, and I decided to go to Palestine to see her.
Wow.
And
Okay.
obviously, in the meantime, I read a lot and I watched a lot of documentaries, and I became really interested. And my family was just thinking, why are you going to
Why
Paris?
on earth?
You're crazy.
I
Like,
mean,
no, I had known her for a few months, and we had only met each other in different countries a few weeks here and there.
yeah.
So they also thought, you don't even know what's going to happen. You're never going to come
Yeah.
back.
That's
It was pretty crazy, and it was the best experience I've had because uh, when I first went to Palestine, it was obviously I just went to see because I was still working here as normal.
yeah. When was that specifically? Sorry, like.
When I first went to Palestine in May 2022 for
All right,
two.
May 22. And this is just one question I had into mind. Like before you went there, obviously you did a bit of
A lot of it, yes, I
a
did
lot
a
of it. Were you a bit worried, or like were you like totally fine with it? Like what was your kind of gut instinct going into there, having known what you know about?
So I had decided that I wanted to move and leave the UK end of 2021.
Okay,
That
okay.
was because of the changes that were happening in my life, and I thought it's a good time for me to leave because I'm really feeling that there will be a new stage and I'm gonna grow into something new. And
Mhm.
I never liked the weather. I love London. I've always hated the weather because I grew up in Portugal, and
Yeah,
the
the
weather is
sunny Portugal to gloomy UK. Yeah, yeah.
so I've always felt like I've been here for 12 years. My time feels like it's done, and
Mm.
I, I'm going to allow myself to just explore. But by the end of 2023, I am not going to be in the UK anymore.
Mhm.
So my goal was, or my plan was, I'm going to move to Dubai, very likely, because it was what
Okay.
most people were doing. I had
Yeah,
friends
yeah.
moving to Dubai. It was
UK to Dubai. Yeah.
like, you know what, I'm just going to do that. And when I saw her, it really felt, I had this sense of there's something special, and there's a reason why you're meeting this person.
Yeah.
And because of the plans that you have and the goals that you have in mind right now, if she is in Palestine and she's confident and comfortable in telling you that it's okay,
Hmm.
I felt like it was fine. I felt,
Okay.
I watched and I researched enough to understand that, because I used to speak to her regularly, to understand that a lot of the things I'm seeing on TV and the way that
Mhm.
people live are very likely very different. Because
Yeah.
naturally, the TV is going to be condensed into the worst possible
Possible.
things.
Yeah.
And the idea is every single day is just awful things happening.
Yeah,
way
yeah.
that they show it. So I went a bit past that, and I was like, I think I really have to go see it for myself. I was very, very excited, and I was also very scared, but it
Yeah.
wasn't scared to the extent that I thought, no, there's no way I'm going to do this. It was just
Yeah, the
anxious.
normal. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I went to Palestine at the time. I don't know if you remember, uh, they have they had a journalist, which was Shireen Abu Akleh, I think was her name,
Hmm.
and she was killed by the occupation sometime. I think at the time that I arrived, because they have the issue where I remember it was one of the first things I saw that really shocked me, because I went there and it was at the time that she was killed and it was her funeral, and people were carrying the the casket on their shoulders, but then the occupation was kind of beating them, and the casket was falling,
Mm-hmm.
and I was seeing it. I remember seeing it because I was in Jerusalem and I was in Ramallah, and I was seeing it on TV, and it was shocking. That the trip itself
Yeah.
was was an amazing trip because I went everywhere in Palestine,
Mm.
and but I think this is something we can get in more detail after, because after first time I went into to Palestine, I came back to London. It was an amazing trip, and
All right.
I decided I we decided that we wanted to live together sometime the following year. So we
Okay.
had a list of different countries and places that we would move to, and none of them was Palestine. It was like Vienna, it was Bali, it was
Yeah.
Barcelona, Dubai, all these different places. And because she was still in Palestine, I went to Palestine a few more times
Mm-hmm.
to see her. And
Visiting
every
them.
time I went to Palestine, it was a different experience. It felt like it was gradually getting worse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It felt like things were gradually getting gloomier, and even on that short period of time, it felt the impact of the occupation and how it was making people feel and how it was impacting the daily life. And then I went there in October, and I decided, October 2022, and I decided, you know what? I like Palestine. Let's just live here. And for her, it was good because she's got a marketing agency. She's a founder. So for her, the main idea around the marketing agency is to create opportunity for Palestinian marketees. So being there for longer to understand the market and make better connections and understand uh, um, the people and have a better brand, it
Mm-hmm.
was good. So from there we started working on things. I went to Palestine a few more times, and it was more of a business trip. I started speaking to academies, I started meeting people that own studios, meeting athletes and what's not. And in summer 2023, I left everything, left the bank, and I just moved. I had nothing. I had maybe about 2 grand in my bank account, and I had no clients. I had nothing, and I moved. And then it was a lot of work. I started to meeting a lot of people. I started meeting some athletes. I was trying to figure out if I should rent a studio, or how long it will take getting people to trust me. And the nice thing is, because she was there for so long, we were not really living, because if you go to Ramallah, for example, you'll see a lot of expats. Or at the time, you would see a lot of expats,
Mm-hmm.
and but you have different ways that people live. I wasn't really living as a foreigner because our friends were all locals
Mm-hmm.
living. I would cross checkpoints by foot to get the bus, not because that's exactly how we wanted to do it, because it was the best way to really understand what was happening.
How's happening? Yeah.
and 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 then 7 of October came. This was 2023,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think I'll ever forget the morning, because the day before we had a really nice event. It was the first time they had this massive kind of, Tough Mudder.
What was it?
Tough
Sorry.
Tough Mudder.
Which is like what? Sorry.
The Tough Mudder is sort of is very popular here. It's like a challenge obstacle event.
Interesting.
You
No, I
run,
haven't heard.
you can have
Yeah.
5, 10 kilometers, you run through the mud, you have loads of obstacles, you go through the ice, and you do all of that stuff.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
So they had the sort of the first Tough Mudder in Palestine. And it was the day before, it was the 6th of October, and it was a great day. There was people from everywhere in Palestine that came through, had met loads of coaches, made loads of connections. And I remember having the feeling that things are really going to pick up soon. So we've been here
Mm.
for 3 months now. I'm getting to know all these people. Then we wake up next morning, and my partner just looks at the phone. She wakes me up. It wasn't her first time because she lived in Gaza for a few months.
All
She
right.
lived in Jerusalem. She's had been through wars before,
She's been around for a while. Yeah.
yeah, but obviously nothing like this. And then she said, "Look, I already know what's going to happen, and we have to get up right now. And there's a few things that we have to do. We have to go
Mm.
shopping and buy a lot of stuff to keep in the house because we don't know if things are going to close or not. We have to charge our phones. We have to take money out and have like an emergency backpack, and we have to have everything ready." And then we did all of that, and it was good because a few hours later, the streets were completely packed. The shops, people were
Mm.
buying everything they could. Everyone was doing the exact same things. No one knew what was going to happen. And then from there, it was 3 to 6 months of nothing. Nothing happened. All the things we had been working on stopped.
Mm.
We were all glued to the TV. We used to live with our friends who have family in Gaza, so every day they would just see if they're alive. Sometimes they wouldn't hear from them for days. There was no work because you know
Yeah.
everything stopped. People
Mhm.
don't have any certainty around work, but also because it wasn't seen as you know respectable, even because a lot of my work, for example, was social media, but you can't post on social media
At
while
that
COVID.
time, yeah. Mm.
And for my partner was the same thing. She lost all clients over time, overnight. And we got to a point where we were thinking maybe we have to leave.
Mhm.
But um it's weird. You don't feel personally, most people left, most foreigners left. For me personally, first of all, I didn't feel in danger. It's very
Mhm.
weird. It's obviously things became really, really crazy. We were living close to a police station, so you would see things like there was a lot of protests, and,
Mhm.
and the way that we see it is that you have the PA, and a lot of people feel that for obvious reasons that the PA is not really on that side. It's just a contribution
Mhm.
occupation.
Yeah.
So they would protest, and the PA would arrest people that are protesting rather than. And we felt like you have an army. You felt you can actually protect people and help rather than protesting. So
Mhm.
people started revolting, and that was burning tires. It was protesting. It was shooting in our streets, and things got very out of control.
Everything.
In Ramallah, is like the main, say, PA stronghold. So they do everything they can to keep the city under control because it's
Mhm.
also where you have all the NGOs and where you have the main companies and what's not. So, they really try to make sure that they will do anything that was necessary for people to not get out of control. So,
Mhm.
and for us, it felt like I'm not in danger, and it feels like it's a stab in the back to all our friends that we're just going to leave right now
Mhm.
because you know Palestine is a commitment to an extent. You realize very early that you don't just go there and then you leave and life continues as normal. When you
Mhm.
live the way that I was living, we were picking olives with friends.
Mhm.
We were going for coffee, sitting down, having shisha. You would see occupation going. We got stopped in different places. You'd see people getting mistreated on the bus. When you see all of these things, you start thinking, I don't have any reason to leave. I have to make
Mhm.
sure that I find some way to work. And if I can't, then I have to leave because at the end of the day, you need money.
You need to make ends meet. Yeah.
So it was a very tough first 6 months. We worked really hard, but we couldn't do much. So, like luckily I didn't lose most of my clients. The clients
Hmm.
I already had, I kept them. It wasn't enough, but it was something. And then over time, people start getting to that stage like it is now, is that, we have to do something. We have to go back and work because we can't just stay
Yeah.
business closed forever. We can't just stay at home forever, just watching the news. You'd watch the news literally from morning to night,
Yeah.
and you'd get stuck there and you couldn't do anything else. You wouldn't sleep. It was really bad. And then we had to do something about it. So we tried to, I tried to start finding different ways that I could find work.
Hmm.
I started reaching out to, I had some work with specific NGOs that was around sports. I started reaching out to different schools, just finding different things that I could do. And one of my players, Kamal, he is now 17. And at the time, he was my first athlete in Palestine. He was a basketball player. And
Hmm.
is absolutely great. And he has a very strong mentality. He really wanted to be a basketball player. And his mom owns a studio, Shad, and they're great friends. And she talked to me and she said, I really wanted to speak to him because he really wants to be a basketball player, but he doesn't really like or trust most of the coaches, and he doesn't think we have anyone that can help him. But I really wanted to try it. So I spoke to him, and I just kind of shared my experience around what is necessary, because wanting to become a basketball player and being a basketball player is very
Two
difficult.
different things. Yeah.
And you have to work really hard. Then you have to understand that, you know, as a Palestinian, you don't have the same chances that everyone does, and you don't have the same opportunity because you're not as exposed. People are not gonna, you're not the first one the NBA is going to think of, because how are you even
Hmm.
going to be seen, right? So he really liked it. We started working straight away, and we worked for 9 months. We started when he was 14, and when he was 15, we had such good progress that he was called for the national team as
Yeah.
the youngest player in the national team. And the president of the federation at the time, they called him and said, "Oh, is your coach? I heard there was this foreign coach here. He was reviewed. Is he still here? You're looking really good." And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, this is his number. Just call him." And that's pretty much how things started. So this was
Hmm.
summer 2024. The president called me and he was like, "Oh, we have a camp for the under 18s because they're gonna have the qualifiers, and I got your number from Kamal, and I really want you to do the camp for them."
Hmm.
And we did a camp for 4 weeks. The camp went really well. They went to the camp, and then he said, "You know what? This was really good. We're gonna have the camp for the first team soon, and I want you to do the camp for the first team."
Hmm.
All of this is happening, and you know, I was working in a bank a year before.
Yeah.
And so as this is happening, it was very scary because for me, it felt I'm not ready. This is too fast. Uh,
Yeah. Such a
like,
transition.
yeah,
So quick.
like I don't know basketball. I never what I watched maybe random short clips of NBA. I never sat
Yeah.
down to watch a full basketball game. So, I started researching a lot. I put
Hmm.
so much work into understanding the rules to start with, how basketball works, reading random books around basketball and strength and conditioning for basketball.
Yeah.
Then I put the camp together for the team. They were really nice players. And I think spending time with the national team was absolutely amazing because just like everyone else, you get into a very close circle of, the way I see Palestinians today and the way I like talking about him is not, a lot of people tend to say, ask me, oh, like they're so resilient because, you know, poor Palestinians, they're going through so much.
Hmm.
The way that they carry themselves,
Hmm.
it really does not make you feel like, oh, poor people.
All right. Hmm.
They are, they carry themselves with so much pride, and we've
Hmm.
gone through so much and we've seen so much happening, that to see how they react and how they live their lives and carry themselves and still dream and work hard to become a better basketball player and whatever, it really makes you feel like you have nothing to feel sorry about
Yeah.
them, period. You don't have to. I get where it comes from and I know why, but because being there, it really made you feel like you understand why it's so hard for the occupation to even, you know, why they get so angry, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why they really want them out, because you never feel like, obviously this is my experience, but you never really feel like the land belongs to anyone but them, especially because of how they make you feel. I remember being in Palestine and being in Ramallah, like you were saying, is the first time I went there and feeling like, am I going to be scared? And getting to Ramallah, getting to Tel Aviv, driving and crossing the checkpoint through to the West Bank, complete change, and just feeling this warmth. I remember my driver took me, first time I'm ever going there, and he took me and he did a detour. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, sorry, sorry. He went to get some coffee. So he asked me, do you want some coffee with some friends? While he's driving me home, talking to them, I was like, oh, sorry, sorry. I just had to grab some coffee, blah, 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 and took me there. And then during that trip, we went to Haifa and Akka, which is north. And for you to get there, you have to go through Tel Aviv. And it was the first time that I actually felt unsafe or scared, was when I was in Tel Aviv, because you see the craziest things. You see people walking around with like guns, big guns in the streets, nothing. You see the soldiers walking around with guns, and you're thinking, this is really crazy. This is a 17, 18-year-old boy. Like, how can I trust that this person walking around with a gun it's pretty crazy. So, so being in the national team and being with them, it really amplified the pride and the feeling of what it means to be Palestinian. And we did the camp, and we had many stories. We had stories where we had moments where we were trying to train. The occupation would come in, raid a specific city, throw.
That's interesting because that was one of the questions I wanted to ask actually. Like, how was it training, coaching a team under occupation? Like, because that definitely comes with a specific challenges and whatnot. So,
It's tough. It's tough because you're always fighting to have a normal training schedule, which is one of the most important parts of training, is going to be the schedule, especially for a national team, because half of the players are not in the country, they're outside. So the players that are outside have a normal training schedule, they're with their teams and it's fine. The players that are inside, first of all, the league stopped since 7th of October. So our players in the country, they were not training. So this is why the president asked me for the camp, because they have to be ready by the time we go to the qualifiers, and we can't have half of the team that is a completely different physical level than the other half because they're not training. So they don't have a training schedule. We're trying to find places to work. The federation is already through going in a lot of strain financially, because you know it's hard to get money as it is. And the president did an amazing job trying to have as many resources and opportunities as possible. So you have a training, let's say today you're planning to train in Stratford, where I am, but then the occupation comes and they raid Leighton, and then they throw tear gas and what's not inside the courts and the football gas. So I remember having this situation where they threw tear gas inside the court, and then I arrived there to practice, and the players are outside, they're just laughing and making jokes. And I'm like, what's happening? Why are we not going in? Ah, coach, what? You don't know? Come, let me show you something. And then you get in. I don't know if you've, tear gas is like, you don't feel it straight away. So you get in, and maybe a few
it's
seconds, I'm like,
fine.
yeah, that's fine. What's happening? And then your nose starts burning and your eyes starts
It
burning,
just
and
hits
then
you.
they're just laughing and like, yeah, they threw. Can you imagine? Look, look, look! They're throwing gas into blah blah blah. So now we have practice at say 7 p.m. We are running around, driving around the city. The president trying to find another court for us to practice, and we don't have our own court because our best court is in Jenin, but you can't go to Jenin, so you have to stay in Ramallah, and then players are coming. They're national players, so they're coming from different places. They have to cross checkpoints. A trip that is 30 minutes, 20 minutes is now 1 hour and a half. Checkpoints, raining, moments where occupation soldiers asking them to come out, and they're all just there in line, being questioned as in like, where you going? It's like, I'm just going to practice.
Yeah.
Guns pointed at them and all these things, and they managed to come late. So now we're changing the time of practice. They managed to come late, but again, they are there like
Yeah.
nothing happened, ready to train, making jokes about the situation, and saying, yeah, that's, this is what they think they need to do to stop us from practicing or
Mhm.
training or put us down, but that's not going to work. It's fine. We'll just go to practice. Um, and much more, we have our camps. We can't have a camp in the country because obviously the players outside can't easily come here and it's not safe. We also have foreigners like American players, imports and what's not. So
Mhm.
we have to go to Jordan to do our camps, and
Mhm.
which is another stress. For example, our second round of qualifiers was in Iraq. I couldn't go to Iraq
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the team.
I'm from Iraq, by the way.
You, you are?
I'm from Iraq.
You're pro?
I'm originally from Iraq, I'm
Oh,
saying.
you're from Iraq.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know actually at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, just threw that in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually, I was really looking forward to go because it was in Baghdad. No, was it Baghdad? I can't remember where it was, but it was in Iraq, and because my visa is issued um, by the occupation.
Mhm.
Although it says there is West Bank, but it's issued by them,
Oh,
which
yeah.
means I can't go into Iraq. They don't let me in. Same way I
God,
couldn't go into Lebanon, and like I still have my passport. So although I want to go to Lebanon until I change it, I won't be able to go because my visas are still there. So, for example, when we first went to the first round of qualifiers, and this is the thing, this is another thing, is these are national team players. I know it's Palestine in a sense that, it's not the most recognized, and it's not the most, uh, doesn't have the most technical, amazing, the best players in the world, but it's still a
Mhm.
national team. So when we go for the qualifiers, they are treated exactly as such as national team
National
players.
team, yeah.
We go to Jordan, we go to Saudi, we have 4 5-star hotels, which is the federation making a lot of work to putting in a lot of work to provide those. We have bus being escorted by police cars. We have all these things as normal as
As a normal national team, yeah.
an official FIBA tournament would have, which is a very big tournament. Then we go to Saudi. We went to Jeddah for our second round of games. It was the same thing. And
Mhm.
then on the way back, as soon as we get to Jordan to cross the border, things
Mhm.
completely change.
Yeah.
It's like the Jordanian border, they don't want to see them, they don't want to deal with them. And you have the Israeli border, which is even worse. They also don't want to deal with them. So all of a sudden, you went from being a national team player to being treated like you're
Mm.
absolutely no one. We're waiting in queues forever, something that could
Mm.
be a few hours, 30 minutes. It's like 4 or 5 hours now. And this is something that really struck me. And I remember speaking to some of the players and complaining about it, and they were like, "Yeah, that's
It's
exactly how we feel." But it's fine. All of a sudden, we don't feel like national team players anymore. You just go back to your normal lives and whatever. So and actually, when I came back from that, I got so we went to Jordan, then we went to Saudi, we came back to Palestine, and um, the whole team goes in, and I can't go in. They didn't let me in because
how
they
come?
started telling me, because your visa. I had So just to give you an idea, when you move, when I moved, you have a 3 month visa,
Okay.
but after that, you have to apply for your visa,
A new
and
visa, yeah.
but my visa is through the federation. From the moment that the visa is through the federation, I am not working in anything that's got to do with the occupation. So they will be saying, we don't want you here, pretty much. So we're going to make your
Mm.
life really hard. So my
Very
visa was
difficult.
West Bank only visa. I could not leave the West Bank. After that, I
Mm.
can't go. I'll live, I'll move as any Palestinian would move.
Mhm.
Obviously, still with some privilege in the sense that when I'm going from a city to a city, the checkpoint, when they see my passport, is a bit different than seeing
It's
it.
a bit, uh-huh. Mhm.
But I couldn't go into Jerusalem. I couldn't go into wherever. I had to stay within the West Bank. So this meant that they gave me a single entry visa. So when I left, they started saying that, oh no, you had to apply for another visa to come in. Like, but this wasn't like this. And if I am to apply for another visa, so just let me in, and then you give me the tourist visa is normal, or even just a West Bank only visa, for
Yeah.
me to apply for a 1 year visa again. So they said no, no, but don't worry, it'll be super quick, be fast. You just need to email this
Mm.
department. Everything's gonna be sorted. Next thing you know, I'm in Jordan for 9 days. I'm not. Luckily, the federation, the president sorted. He got me a driver that will drive me from the hotel 1 hour to the border. I went to the border 3 times and got sent back because they kept saying it wasn't the right one. And and they ultimately they're trying to make it really hard so that I think, you know what, I don't want to do this. Let me just
You
go
just
home.
kind of give up on it.
Why would I be
Mm-hmm.
going through this? So it's type of experiences that we would have. But the camp went really well. I finished the camp and I started. I didn't know I was traveling with the team actually because our agreement was just for me to do the strength and conditioning camp with the team to prepare them for the qualifiers. The head coach came. He was Greek, came from Greece, and he said, "No, no, no. We want you to be with the team." And that's really how I started working with the national team, which was a very, very stressful period because, like I said, I had, you know, my goal was to change my life and career again and get closer to sports and football. And all of a sudden, I was in basketball, which I was happy with because I was in the environment, the sports environment. Um, it was definitely a privilege because I was, had I not moved to Palestine, I wouldn't have made such a big leap and worked
Mm.
straight with the national team at such a uh, uh, early stage in my career as a strength and conditioning coach. And you know, because of that, it felt like as stressful as this is, as hard as this is, as much pressure as I may feel, because it really felt like I don't know, I don't think I may not be good enough of a basketball strength and conditioning coach to be training. It really felt like no, this is kind of the test for you. It's like, do you really want to do this or you don't? Because if you don't, then you might as well quit now. And I put in a lot of work, and the camp really went well. I had, I learned a lot from our head coach in the national team, and so much so that that's how I moved to Saudi. I moved to Saudi because it got to a point where you have to be working around visas, and my partner had been there for. She had been there for 5 years, and after 5 years, you can't stay there anymore. You have to go out for a year and something, and then come back.
And you back in. I think
So
yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
no, tell me.
No, no, I was going to say it's interesting because like before we get to the point you moved to Saudi, like the things you mentioned to me, like it just blows my mind because as you said, like with sports,
Yeah,
especially at a professional level, like thin margins matter so much, and you're
right.
talking about all these huge obstacles.
Yeah,
People around there are just kind of getting on with it as this is how it is. But then this is where you can kind of put your insight, like from the way I heard it, at least from when you say it, there's something around like you kind of also adapted that mentality because when you were saying around 9 days and whatnot, I'm like any foreigner who's not been around Palestine would be like, what the hell, I'm out. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah, it's what I told you about the commitment. Is first of all, they made me feel very welcomed. I made really good friends until today, like entrepreneurs, and we were in a very a good circle of. I feel like I've always been like this to an extent, even since I was a
Mm.
kid. But I would never walk around the streets without saying hi to different people. For
Oh yeah.
example, when Iran, it's a very funny story, but when Iran was sending missiles to Tel Aviv and whatnot, I was training because I was in the football academy. Like, I was with the football academy. I was to train there for the under nines to under 14s.
Hmm.
My partner was. This was when it's the first time. It wasn't the second. The first time. Uh, my partner was calling. She's like, "Where are you? Like, did you see what's
You're in the
happening?"
streets.
Whilst we were all in the football court recording the missiles going past, and then I was walking while she's super stressed at home.
Hmm.
I was walking home and I had to go past the market to buy some grapes, and it was like a veggie shop, and the owner's son really like was really nice. And we were making jokes about the situation. We were making jokes about the messed up past. And and I went home and she was saying, you're crazy, like I'm always stressed and you're out there buying like groceries and grapes. Because you do feel like it's part of the experience. You're not able to have a you're not able to really understand. First of all, you're never able to really understand, because it doesn't matter how much I've experienced, is never going to be the same. And one of the first things that one of my friends, or our friend, told us, when I first went to Palestine, we went to Hebron, and it was one of the worst places to experience, because they have a settlement right in the middle of the city center. So, which means settlers literally send, like rubbish down the market. They will send acid down the market. So much so that I have pictures. They had to put a metal fence on the top so that the rubbish doesn't hit people. And he always said, I remember to today, he always said, this is never going to be normal. And you do feel like it's never going to be normal, but it's inevitable that you live as if this is normality.
Gotcha.
So the only way that you will be able to stay there, especially as a foreigner, and have a good experience, authentic experience, is if you really understand that the way that the things work in the West, and especially around sports, and the way it really is about adapting. I feel like it's already in an Arab mentality that things can be a bit chaotic in terms of,
You're just used to
without
it.
even going to Saudi, you can tell. But
Yeah.
there, mostly because of the obstacles, it makes it 10 times worse. So, growing up playing in Benfica and blah, 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 I see things that they would never work. I've seen things happening that if now in Saudi, sometimes they talk about the club, how the structure, they put things together, and last minute changes of this and that. Like, if this was, Europe, this is enough for this person to get sacked. It's like,
Exactly.
I had practice at this time, you're telling me, and now I can't have practice because this. No, you didn't organize this, whatever. This should have done. You know what? You're sacked. Like, this is not how things work. But it's you have to adapt. You have to adapt, and again, it's a commitment. You can't be there if you don't expect and you don't understand that this is how it's going to work, and if you're not prepared for it, mentally prepared. And many people are not. We have great friends that simply had to leave, and it's not because it's about you being stronger or weaker. It's just sometimes emotionally, it also gets too heavy for people to bear and witness, and not being able to do anything about it. I think that's one of the biggest issues.
Yeah.
Is you feel like hopeless, and you feel like you just have to live with it. You can't do anything. So um, I guess being there is the best way that I could help and resist in everything that was happening. So,
Yeah, I mean it's very fascinating. I'm just saying, like, because like before we had this conversation, I kind of read about it, but like I was trying to tie the dots. You know what I mean? There's
yeah,
not much in it, so I was just kind of. But now that you actually talk about it,
yeah,
it's such a fascinating journey, and I'm glad we're getting this like opportunity to kind of shed light on
yeah,
it, because as you said, like somebody, for example, who's very far removed from it, or just looking at the news in terms of what's going on with you know what I mean? They wouldn't know about these things, or
yeah,
how you explain the day-to-day life, or how people go on about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
The day to day is honest. It's how you'd imagine you live in Manchester. You said, right?
Yeah.
So it's uh, when it's good is amazing. When it's bad is really bad. My partner used to say all the time, and he's a perfect explanation for it. You do, you know, and again, gradually things have been getting worse naturally,
Yeah.
but you have a sunny day in Palestine, let's say in Ramallah or Hebron, or my favorite city, Nablus. I absolutely love Nablus, but
Mhm.
you know that you have a standard is a very slow paced in general. Ramallah
Yeah.
can be a bit fast, busy, but in general is very slow paced. The weather is great. Um, you will, you go to have a standard breakfast, and then with falafel and hummus and loads of bread. They're always eating loads of bread. And then, let's say you is in an olive picking season. So we had amazing friends. You'd go to picking olives, and you know, so our friend used to invite us with her family, and then the mom would take the stuff to the camp, to the field. She would cook breakfast there, fresh like shakshuka and
Mm.
we would have. It's absolutely delicious. So you're working, picking up olives, you'll take a break, you eat, then you go back to it, and then there's the kids, and then at some point it's still nice and warm. You'll order some shisha, for
Mm.
example, and then you'll have dinner there too. Then those same olives, they will take it home, they will prepare it, leave it in water, squeeze it, do olive oil, and then after a few weeks, she will bring us, the olive oil from the olives that we picked. You have you have a massive community of different religions. So naturally, you have Muslims, you have Christians. You know you have parts of it that can be very conservative. You have parts of it that are not that conservative.
Yeah.
And in a normal day, they would work in, peacefully together. Um, and you can go to bars sometimes. You have a lot of cultural events. You would have um, a lot of people putting in the effort to create new experiences. So you have a lot of young entrepreneurs. It's one of the things I really enjoyed is you have a lot of talent and people that want to create things in Palestine. The problem is more really about the resources.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have, one of my friends, Omar, he is one of the first entrepreneurs I met there. Is the owner of Mina Beast. And we met because as a coach, he's creating like a clothing brand where he, helps athletes. Part of the profit that he makes from the brand, he wants to help athletes like funding their opportunities overseas, whether it's football, whether it's CrossFit, and wherever it is. He's in Jordan now. You have people trying to find better recyclable solutions, water solutions. Like my partner with marketing, you have people doing AI, like I don't know if you know Replit or if you heard of Replit, but it's one of the last clients that she's working with. That is around, I think it's a platform where you can build, let's say, websites from scratch, or using
Mm.
AI, so you don't really have to do.
Coding.
There's a lot of things
Energy.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
happening, and it's a beautiful space and all of it happening together. And then you have people, you go to different cities, like if you go to Nablus, it's a lot more conservative and different, but the market is beautiful. Hebron used to be even better, but because of settlers, Hebron is now a very tough area to go to because the
Mhm.
market is not, used to be a vibrant market with loads of shops, loads of this local products made by Palestinians, and now it's just people are scared of going there, so the market is struggling. And that's then on a bad day, it's really bad. People
Yeah.
don't leave the house. You see checkpoints today. It's like you're planning, let's say you're in Manchester and you're planning, oh, I'm going to London tomorrow. And then you wake up, you want to go see your family. You get on the car, and then they'll say, oh, it's closed. You can't leave the
I'm not
city
doing it.
for nothing because they feel like it. We've seen it, we experienced it many times. Everything has to be planned in a way that you have to be prepared for the worst case scenario. So even for us, because we have one single entry visas, we going to other cities just meant, okay, we have gonna have to plan. This seems like a good day, but we can't stay until this time. Maybe we should come back at this time. And yeah, but at the same time, it's like I was saying, it's I don't. It really, I guess, because I spend enough time there, it really feels like it's just what you have to do. It's not. It's again, it's not really normal,
Yeah.
but it is what you had to go through, and it is what you had to experience, and you had to find ways around it. And for me, naturally, a lot of people and friends will tell me, "Oh, but this is like it's so amazing. You're so brave because you're doing
Mhm.
it." And as much as I appreciate it and I understand it, I don't really feel
Doesn't feel that way for you.
it
Yeah.
doesn't feel that way at all. It's
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
it
I
felt
guess it's
completely
different from an outsider perspective, like the way
yeah,
they see it, like yeah, you're brave and you're going through, but it's different for you when you're in it and you're there and you're living the life. It's just it seems to be the
exactly.
normal way of doing things there.
Exactly. It
Hmm.
really just, and it felt, if it also felt like this is how I want my life to go. I want to be able to explore and I want to be able to experience things for myself and be able to have the opinion. And, if I can do that while I'm working and I'm doing things that I like, um, even better. But
Hmm.
it felt like it's a step that was necessary. When I had to leave, it was very hard to leave. It was one of the hardest. I felt even leaving London wasn't as hard. Even leaving Portugal, I don't think it was as hard. It was very
Mm.
hard to leave Palestine because you really feel like you're giving up to an extent.
Mm.
Like you're
It's
giving
interesting.
up on the cause, you're giving up on the people, you're giving up on your friends, and but at the same time, we had such a good time and we made so many good friends that even now in Saudi, our friends are coming from Palestine to see us and stuff like that. And it felt like it was a door that I had to close. I'm sure I'll be back. I'll be back. But the problem, and this is why it's so hard to leave, is that you never really know when or how you can go back because things
Mm.
are constantly changing. I could try
And
to go back, and all of a sudden, you can't go in anymore.
yeah,
Could be a bad day. It could be so many things, and you know that, for example, my wife used to be in Gaza. She has many experiences, and she has employees in Gaza that we speak to, and you you have you know the places that you miss and that you thought one day she will go back,
and
they're
then you
not
just
there anymore. So now
yeah,
it's just
constantly.
memories, right? So you never really know, this is the last time I may have seen this thing. This is the last time I may have seen this person. This is the last time, and it's hard to deal with that.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
moving away from it is hard, but I feel like it
Yeah.
was a necessary step, and moving to Saudi was a very interesting experience.
That's the part I'm just gonna get into now quickly. So it's very very interesting what you said, and obviously now you're working in Saudi. So my question is obviously like, how did the opportunity come about, and what is it like navigating Saudi culture
Yeah,
compared to Palestine? Because I lived in Kuwait, which is a neighboring Gulf country, and I know the
yeah,
vibes are very different. For example, I always tell people compare Kuwait to Iraq, completely different vibes. They're neighboring
yeah,
countries, but a Gulf country is
nothing
a
like
very
it.
different. Yeah, so I'd be interested to hear that. Yeah.
So I went to Saudi. The opportunity came about because like I said, we didn't manage to qualify for the Asian Cup, for FIBA Asian Cup in basketball with the national team,
Mm.
and I knew that had to be the last year. My visa was going to expire. I still have an active visa actually. It expires end of this month. I think it's March.
Hmm.
So I didn't want to wait until the end of my or towards the last few months to then start
Of course.
looking for something else. So I started thinking, I really want to stay here, but I'm going to start looking around at what
Mhm.
opportunities are out there, and I started reaching out to different people. I started reaching out to academies in Qatar, in Jordan, people, friends, strength and
Yeah.
conditioning, football coaches. I applied for a lot of football academies as well. But because I'm still doing my level 2 and stuff, I always thought, it's more likely that I'll get something strength and conditioning related
Yeah.
before football until I managed to finish my level 2 and keep moving. So I reached out to the head coach of the national team at the time because he didn't know if he was going to continue or not, and I just said, I am looking for something. And because of the visa, it's unlikely that I'll be able to stay here for much longer. I have probably another year or so. So I'm not in a rush. But it was more to ask him if he knows anyone I should reach out
Mhm.
to or anything, just let me know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said, okay, yeah, of course, I will just send me your CV and I'll keep it and then we'll see. And a few months go by, and then he reaches out to me and he just asks, are you still interested in moving? And I'm like, yes, yes.
Mhm.
And he goes, well, it's nothing confirmed. I think we may have a club. And I think he was telling me that I may have a club to go to. But it was actually him. He was being offered the club in Saudi, and he wanted me to be part of the team. So we just stayed in touch, and he said it's not guaranteed, so we don't really know if it's going to happen. But just so you know, if this happens, we're going to have to move and start the season 1st of July or whatever it is. And from there, as it got closer, it started getting more confirmed. But again, it wasn't. It was very chaotic. It wasn't a this is done. This is how we're going to start, and this is how it's going to go. It was always just maybe it's going to happen. Maybe it's going to happen. Until it was very close, and because we lived in Palestine. It's not like my base was somewhere else. My life was in Palestine. My house, our things were all there. And to move wasn't as easy as most of the coaches because they were coming from home.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a chaotic move, and trying to tell people that we were leaving slowly without saying too much because the club also hadn't confirmed it, hadn't signed the contract yet, and trying to tell the players in the national team. That was very, very upsetting, very sad because it created a really good bond. And I tried to help them the best I could in this, really pushing themselves and finding the opportunities to be better because it was the only chance that they had. And the players got really sad. I got really sad. I had really young players that I used to coach football, strength and conditioning, private, and it's not. And then, he said, okay, this is confirmed. This is the club. We're going to go to Al Ula. And when he said we're going to Al Ula, I thought we started researching Al Ula, which is the city Al Ula. And then we thought, wow, the city looks beautiful, but it looks really small. It's like it's the last place I expected to go. I thought we were going to Jeddah or Riyadh or something. Okay, Al Ula, yeah, Al Ula works. I mean, and then, but the contract then said Medina, and we were like, but why does the contract say Medina and the club is Al Ula? That makes no sense. But then he said, no, it's Medina. Is because the Al Ula is the club, but Al Ula as a location is very inaccessible. So it makes more sense to be in Medina because we have to travel around a lot, and it's part of the Royal Commission. So because for the 2030 vision, they are investing in Al Ula, which means they're also investing a lot in the club. So at the moment, this season, we probably, for basketball, we're definitely the most successful club. But many other sports, we were the most successful club. So like futsal, basketball, football, they're doing really well. They're going up, I think, the second league or first league. And then we moved to Medina, which it was a completely different experience. It was nice because it was very good to be in a country where you have an Arab community that is free and completely sure of themselves, that without any constraints. It was interesting because people were not as friendly. And when I say not as friendly, it's actually in a good way. I think Palestinians have a lot to prove. So if they have foreigners moving or just going there to visit, they try to do their best to show them that this is not what you expect. This is not what you see on TV. Like we actually have much better reality, and come back, welcome all the time. We had people literally, older women, 80s, 90s, inviting us to go to their house just to drink coffee and things like this, which felt very natural. But Saudi felt more like people are, they're just normal, friendly to the extent where anyone else is friendly.
Not like over and beyond.
It's not, it wasn't, I'm trying to go over the line for you. I'm trying. It was very different, and that felt good. We were not used to it. I wasn't used to it anymore. So, um, it it gave you the perception. It was very interesting to see and talk to people around the vision because everyone is about the 2030 vision.
Vision,
Everyone in Saudi is a is a hard concept or vision to understand. It's embedded in everything, in
Everything they do. Yeah, yeah,
everything they do. Was around it, whether it's entrepreneurial events, whether it's sports. It doesn't matter which sport. So people get really excited about it, and that was nice. And there's a lot of changes happening. It's a lot more, especially because it's Medina. It's a lot more conservative. So
yeah.
trying to understand, even as a man, how I'm going to act, and what's the right way to do it around the females team. It was it was a lot at the same time, and it's it was a bit confusing to have so much freedom and peace. I think it was, you know, a lot of very um a lot of very day-to-day activities
Mhm.
felt at the beginning felt like we had to prepare for it, and you had to be more aware than what was necessary, because I think we were just transitioning. There's things like, I don't know, you hear a sound and you're thinking, oh, it may be a rocket or something.
Yeah,
It's it's, you're traveling from one city to another, and he says something like, oh, checkpoint ahead. And I know from being, let's say, in the UK or in Portugal,
yeah.
what checkpoint's going to look like. But I think after being in Palestine, it's like, oh, what does he mean, a checkpoint?
Yeah.
Then you realize that it's going to be one of those checkpoints, right? It's just cameras. You have to slow down for a bit, and then
Slow it down for it.
you go
Yeah.
ahead. And I think that transition was yeah, it took some time. Also because emotionally, it was very hard to detach from Palestine. So, and I
Mm.
think for my partner even more. So the first few months was very tough, and with the club also trying to adapt and trying to understand what the club is all about. And there was a lot of pressure because it's a very ambitious club with a lot of money, and they're investing a lot, so they want wins. And also, again, the change in career and feeling like, okay, this is really happening. A few
Mhm.
months or years ago you were there, now you said you were going to do this and you're doing it. I had again this sense of a lot of pressure. I'm not good enough to do this. Why am I here? This is so quick, and things like that. And very quickly things changed because I really embraced the role. I really embraced the country. I we made It's very hard to make friends because of the schedule, but we
Mhm.
made some good friends. Started going to Riyadh, Jeddah, Al Ula, different cities, and really, um, it's a very interesting place. Saudis are very different.
Yeah, yeah. I
Saudis are
was,
very different. They're a bit wild, which is it's funny. When I say wild, it's just they are funny. I think they're funny people. They are funny community. They they are very, like, the driving is totally crazy. The driving
oh
in,
yeah, yeah,
kid you not, is worse than Palestine by far. I think
yeah,
really
yeah.
way worse. They
Speeding and the whole in between.
Speeding, the in
Yeah, yeah,
between. You have U turns, which they call the we turn, because there's one lane, but all of a sudden three cars
yeah.
trying to turn at
Yeah.
the same time. The runabout is completely crazy, but they're really nice and ambitious. And it's really nice to see in Saudi, which is something that I guess you don't see very often, is how there is a class of Saudis, because people, associate Saudi Arabia with as a lot of money and luxury and what's not,
Yeah.
oil money and all these things. But when you're there, you really see that there's a middle class of just, the young person that is going to university and working in a cool uh, coffee shop or restaurant that is just trying
Yeah.
to. You really see that layer of society that you don't expect that you're going to find there. And I don't think you find it in many countries, because I've seen Palestine not so much, I guess, but if you go to Qatar, for example, you see, or Dubai, even worse, is that there's
Mhm.
a lower layer that is a lot of foreigners and people that are coming from Pakistan and what's not,
Yeah.
and then it jumps straight into the luxury and people that are doing really well. Um,
Mhm.
And Saudi is nice in that sense. It feels very normal. Like,
Balanced a bit more. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. This is very interesting. So one of the things I am conscious of time, but one of the things that I wanted to just kind of get a couple of more questions actually. But so now that you've kind of lived in the Middle East for quite a while,
Mhm.
and be honest with this one, do you feel a sense of belonging there, or do you still feel like an outsider?
That's an interesting question. I don't. I because I moved a lot. I guess I find it very easy to adapt, and I always feel many times I feel that I don't know where I feel more comfortable or where I belong to.
Yeah.
Um, so so many people. I went to Dubai and I walk around in Saudi, more in Saudi than Palestine because Palestine is very easy. You can tell that I am not Palestinian, but many
Yeah.
people in Saudi they really think I am Saudi.
Yeah. Your lip
Very,
can go
very,
off
yeah,
as Saudi.
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
at some point, I had just really low trim and big mustache in
Oh,
Saudi.
you're
So-
100%.
and they would speak Arabic to me, and I'm saying I don't speak Arabic. I'm really sorry.
Especially if you
And
have
they
the
agree.
mustache,
Yeah,
you put on their like you put on the dish dash, you'd
I
be like
have that would
100%.
that would be it. And they would be so confused. I can't believe it. And I would go to Dubai, and they would start speaking in Arabic, and I would say I don't speak Arabic. And they were like, no, but you like are your parents Saudi or something? Because you
Yeah,
really
like
look like you're from Saudi. So I would say that I adapted very well, and in many ways, I felt like I belonged in Palestine. I don't feel like I'm saying, I feel like I belong in Saudi in a way that, there's a lot of people like me, but I don't think I've spent enough time yet to really
yeah,
understand Saudi the way I understand, for
got
example,
you.
the way I feel like I belong there. And the reason is because Palestine, again, it was really um, you spent lifestyle was very different. I spent time trying to build my business in Palestine. I didn't have much in Palestine. I was going around loads of people and friends for help, and I met loads of people, school directors, and all these things in Palestine. And then I did things that local Palestinians would do regularly
Yeah,
uh, that we shouldn't even be doing to an extent because it's like these are things that we do as locals to go through, but
yeah,
I wouldn't really recommend that you do this, but it's like so we really felt like we're just living life to go through with some privileges, of course, but it's like when it comes to Saudi, it doesn't feel like that yet because I have a very different lifestyle in Saudi. It's more
mhm.
um, you know, a lot of work, a lot of it is around the club. I travel a lot, so we have a
Yeah.
lot of tournaments and things,
It's a
games.
bit more operational around your work, whereas
Exactly,
there you were like really kind of
exactly,
knitted into the culture. That makes
exactly.
sense. That
And
makes sense.
yeah, the people see you a bit different once they understand that you are foreigner also because of
Yeah.
the job, especially when they know where I work is Al Ula. It's massive. Everyone's like, oh, what do you work for Al Ula? Isn't your coach? Because people go watch the games, and we have really good players, basketball players in the men's team because we've invested a lot bringing some NBA players and what's not. So that's growing.
Yeah.
And there's a bit more of a um, they may treat you a bit differently
Mhm.
because there's some, I guess, some sort of status that they feel that comes with the job, um, and because of that
Yeah.
it makes it feel harder to integrate.
Yeah. Got
So
you. Yeah.
you live a different lifestyle, you do things that not everyone does,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and it just feels different. It feels different. I think
Yeah.
I need more time. Probably will be back to Saudi end of April or mid-April. I believe I'll be there for another season. I would like to probably stay, maybe not in Medina, but like Riyadh, for example, or Jeddah. I think will be pretty nice for a few more years. But it's very hard to say. As I always say, at this point, for all I know, I could be in Japan next
Anyway,
year. I
yeah.
don't
Yeah.
even know.
Okay. I mean, one of the things that Alan, before we put this to a close is what's next for you? So you seem to be someone who's gone through like so much shift and like a lot of different trajectories. So like, are you building towards something specific, or are you just following where life takes you at the moment?
So I have a few plans. First, I really want to be a football coach. Um, and it becomes hard to focus on it because there is a lot that goes into strength and conditioning for a team, especially in basketball, because I tend to be the only strength and conditioning coach, or we'll have a team of two. A season is really long. There's a lot of work that goes behind it, and the traveling and what's not. For me to keep doing football coaching, I have to actually find a club because I have to train part
Yeah.
time, at least at the same time that I am taking my qualifications. But I have a dream of becoming a football coach for Sporting Lisbon, which is my team. I know I
Oh,
played for Benfica.
listen.
Sporting Lisbon is my team.
All right.
So
Okay. Fair enough.
I I put it up there because I wanted to work towards it. I've
Yeah. Yeah.
realized whatever happens in between happens in between, but I want to work towards it.
That's the ultimate.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. They
So
won the other day 5-0. I'm not sure if you watched
they
the.
did, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they
They
did. I
they
didn't watch the
smashed
game,
them.
but I saw it. It was massive.
But okay. Yeah. So yeah. So that's the
Um,
ultimate goal.
that's the ultimate goal for football, and at the same time, I am thinking we were champions this season. We had a great season. We being champions meant that we qualified for the golf championship, which is going to
Mhm.
be end of July, and we also have the big chance to play on the West Asia Super League, which is the first time they're going to do it for women. And so it's
Okay.
basically the best teams of each country within the region play one massive
There
league.
you go.
So this is massive because women's sport in Saudi is very new, especially
Yeah.
basketball at this level. So we have the newest or the most recent generation of female basketball players that's kind of setting the foundation for what's coming next for the future generations. So being part of this right now and what we may be able to achieve next season is massive. It's going to be a very big season. So in that sense, I'm very excited to be in the club for at least another season. After that, I couldn't really tell you. I tend to predict, what's going to happen. At least, yeah, every time I've said it, I feel like this is where it's going and this is what happens. I do feel like in I'm going to be in Saudi for I'd say 2, 3 more years. I don't think I'm going to be in Medina for more than one season. I
Mhm.
do feel that I will not done with Saudi yet. If it's not Saudi, I would like to go into a higher level strength and conditioning team, probably somewhere in Europe, like Serbia or Lithuania. They have really good high level clubs. Um, so
Yeah.
it could be anywhere.
It could be
Country
any.
wise, it could really be anywhere. But we're also planning, and stabilizing a little bit, having a base. So I think soon we'll be buying a house in Portugal just to home, because I think it's important of how unpredictable and how unstable the schedule is. It's good to have a base where
Speaking of.
we will just have things, and we're also growing older, thinking what the next steps family wise is, and um, it's going to be a very interesting few years, that's for sure. But for
Fair.
now, by the time I'm 50, Sporting Lisbon, so I have another 18, 17 years,
Yeah.
and um, maybe 2, 3 more years in Saudi, possibly one for sure, possibly two, three. But I want to see how far I can push strength and conditioning, and I also have. I'm actually thinking of putting it as a plan, but I have an I wanted to build a strength and conditioning gym sort of chain,
Mhm.
and I wanted to start with Palestine, but I know how complicated that may be
Mhm.
because it's mostly because there's a lot of talent in Palestine, and I coached a lot of players that very young players that they don't have the opportunity because they don't even understand what it may take to be a professional athlete. And I think there is a massive gap and there's a massive opportunity to have a specific strength and conditioning coach, gym, to help them take that step.
Mm,
I think I know enough people now to have a good chance of building it,
that'd be amazing.
because
Yeah.
it would be the first of its kind. But it's more whether it would be smart to do it as the first place or to have it somewhere else and then eventually be able to take it there.
Okay, there. That's a good one. That's interesting. Yeah, a lot of plans, a lot of things, diverse plans. I was
Yeah,
just gonna say on one note with the football, I always joke with my best friend because we grew up football fans, and I'm always like, if our dreams of being footballers is gone, the good thing is you can start managing at old age, so there's still
very
time
true.
for that dream. It's that one is still alive, you know. But
Very
anyways,
true.
one of the things that last question, because the purpose really of this podcast is obviously to have amazing conversations with people like you and so on, but is for also it's a bit of learning for people who are listening. So
Yeah,
for a young coach or someone, like who's young and upcoming and wants to do what you've done, work internationally, navigate different cultures,
yeah.
find meaning through service, like what would you tell them? What would you advise them? So imagine you 10, 15 years ago, or someone who's kind of wants to go on that journey.
Um, that's a great question. I generally think that you have to be very brave. You have to
Hmm.
have courage. And I don't even say this in my experience. I've always thought that there's specific. Okay, first, I think personally, and I think it's important that a lot of coaches understand this, is, you know, you have a set of skills that we are lucky enough to be a set of skills that people really appreciate, in the sense that is, football, sports, and on and on. It's
Hmm.
not, I believe you are a doctor, right?
A pharmacist, yeah, but at the
Pharmacist,
university
right?
academic, yeah.
So, so a pharmacist is, in in my belief, is a way more important, in the sense that is important for society, is a way
Hmm.
more important role than it is a strength and conditioning coach or football coach, and on and on and on, a football player and on. However, we have a set of skills that mean that people really appreciate it, because
Hmm.
it gets with their feelings and
Of
emotions,
course,
and it's massive for all of us. It's massive, and we
of course.
understand. I think first is having the being humble enough to understand that, and use those skills and make the most of it with a lot of courage. And when I say a lot of courage, is it's very easy to get comfortable.
Yeah,
It's a very, very hard field. It's a very hard industry. It really is very tough. I am where I am right now because I was lucky and because I took some risks.
definitely.
Things are working. There's many things that didn't work. There's
Yeah,
many other things that I want, or I thought, I thought the path was going to go A to B, but it goes zigzags
yeah.
and circles first, and then for you to get to B. Sometimes it's great, but sometimes it isn't. And I say this, I quit football before, so I knew when I quit football, after processing it and understanding it, that it wasn't the right decision for me to do, what it meant to me. And I don't regret many things in life, but I know that I was very close to be a football player, which I spent years, like 15 years working towards, and then to make a decision that stopped me from doing that. And I know that at that point, it was a lot about courage and bravery. And I didn't have that extra bit of courage to keep moving.
Hmm.
So if you are a young coach, or you have the aspiration of, you know getting into the industry, managing a big club, whether it's football, whether it's strength and conditioning, whether it's whatever sport, is take the opportunity of, first, work a lot on yourself. Take the opportunity of, um you know it's not going to be a linear path. Take the opportunity that comes, if you think it's the right opportunity for you. Sometimes it's fine. I have a coach that, yeah. So sometimes it's fine that you may not be in the right place at the time that you think you're going to be, but if you're brave enough and you keep moving forward, and if you believe in yourself and you keep working hard enough, I generally think that you're going to get there. And there is a lot of life out there.
Mm.
Sometimes it's hard to understand that. There really is. You can contribute in many different places. Sometimes, like in my experience, I wouldn't have been able to go to train the basketball national team in the UK if I stayed here, but I was able to, for whatever reasons. I was in Palestine and I was able to train a national team, which I gained massive experience from to go into my next club or
Mm.
continue my journey. So be brave,
Be brave.
have courage.
I like that. I like that. I mean, once again, first of all, thank you so much for having you on. Honestly, I really enjoyed this. I think this has been one of the easiest podcasts because all I had to do is just like listen and enjoy. But a final thing, I don't know if you have a page or anything, but if anybody's interested to learn about you or what you do, is there anywhere we can signpost them to or?
Well, I have a Instagram page.
All
Um,
right.
I am actually not very good at, and you think is not because my partner has a marketing agency, but I'm not very good at keeping my Instagram page very active.
All
I
right.
do post stories a lot, but not a lot of posts. But it's holistic fitness.
Let's take this.
Holistic fitness with Fabio. That's the name of my Instagram.
Uh-huh.
And I do get a lot of messages from athletes that may need programming because I do programs outside coaching. I tend to post more or less about the stories of where I'm moving and things like that. And I also LinkedIn, I want to pick up a little bit because I'm also not great at it. But
I
my
can help you
LinkedIn,
out. No worries.
my LinkedIn is just Fabio Miguel.
Yeah.
And at some point, I was trying to keep up with sort of a professional story because I knew that there was a lot of changes, and trying to keep people up to date. I wanted to kind of, document my journey, but I'm really not the best at it. And it got to a point, and then work gets a bit too much, and
So I was gonna say before we sign up, like when I heard this podcast, I'm like, this guy's underrated. Like, I had such a remarkable journey. Like, why have I not heard? Like, why did I have to like dig so deep to find him?
yeah,
But anyways, it's good we had this conversation. And as you said, I think your story definitely should be shared. So I've held your ransom for 2 hours now, so I'll leave you to it. But thank you for going on the podcast.
thank you very much, Ali. It's been a pleasure, and I love the kafia because I have a friend that's got the same. It's very nice.
Thank
I
you.
have the same too. I have the same too.
That's awesome.
I was stopped at the airport once because they opened my bag and they saw my kafia when I was coming back to London, and I was interrogated for like 45 minutes. But it
Wow, wow.
sounded safe.
That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy. All right then. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Bye bye.